Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining again. This is Beatrice Oti. I am your host with Canada International Work and Study Resource Center. And I'm here again to talk about an exciting topic that will be of interest to you, especially if you're an international student. So please stay tuned. Yeah. You guys loving the look? I don't know why. Each time I come here, I'm super excited. I don't know why. I'm just so excited. So if you're new here and this is you're watching the replay or this is your first time joining, I'm Beatrice. I'm your host with Canada International Work and Study Resource Center, and I am going to be your host. So I talk about everything Canada. I talk about work Canada. I talk about study. I talk about permanent residency. I talk about everything that will help you to succeed in Canada as a student or as a foreign national. So feel free to ask me your questions. Feel free to let me know if you need any help with respect to transitioning. And also, this brings me to talking about Ciwsrc. It's called Canada International Work and Study Resource Center. And what we do is we help students have a smooth transition to Canada. We are ethical. We are RCIC licensed. We bank on integrity. We have good refund policy. We're people of integrity. So let's say something did not go really well, we do refund you some of the fees. So and we're very affordable. We have our office in Lagos, Nigeria, and we also have our office in Canada. So even if you have succeeded, you're not in Canada, and you still need some help, ping us and we will be happy to help you, especially if you utilize our service. Okay. So our topic today would be navigating workplace etiquette as an international student in Canada. Please bring your pen. Bring your pen because this information, nobody has it in the books. It's not in any books. Welcome, welcome. I see someone just joined us today. I'm super excited to have you with me as we discuss this hot topic. Not a lot of people actually talk about workplace etiquette. Not a lot of people talk about the workplace in Canada. A lot of people shy away from the topic. Just, I don't want to talk about it. But no, we should talk about it. Okay. So there are a couple of factors I would be talking about on here. A couple of factors, a couple of I'll be listing out some things as well. So the first one on our list is punctuality. I worked with a Canadian employer back in 2018, and it was Sutherland Global Services, and worked with AT&T. And I remember punctuality was an important factor. Even as an international, so if you're doing a co-op, you want to always show up on time. It shows a sense of respect for your employer, and it shows that you're serious with your job, and it shows that you are a reputable person. Now, with the Canadian system, they have a clock-in system, so you clock in just exactly on time. So if you're going to come early to work, so let's say your work shift starts at 8 a.m. and you're going to come to work at, let's say, 7:30, you want to be clocking in at 7:55 just in case your system has a little bit of disruption, and then you clock in just exactly at 8 a.m. However, they don't like you clocking in way earlier because they have to pay, although the government, they do a lot of taxing, like they do they file the tax for you and stuff. The company files the tax because you have to get your T4 through the corporation. So you have to just make sure you clock in just on time, right? And if you're late, you come in, let's say 15 minutes late, 20 minutes late, they usually have a system where you can call in sick, or you can call in and give a reason why you're late. But if you do that 1, 2, 3 consecutive time, you can get fired. Yes, you can get fired. So for those people who are in Nigeria, you tell your employer, oh, I'll be coming in late. Just want to make sure my volumes are up. Hey, can everybody hear me clearly? Just want to make sure my volumes are up. And you tell him, but I'm coming in late, and you do that again and again. Hey, thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. And yeah, you can't do that in Canada. If you've been coming late to your employer back in Africa, also, you can't do that in Canada. In Canada, they respect your time, and it shows a sense. It demonstrates that you respect your time, demonstrate that you respect your job, and it shows that you value your work. Okay, so you want to show up on time. Number 2 on our list is with respect to an international student, because it's a new environment. And please, if you've not watched our previous webinar, I would really advise you to please watch our previous webinar. We've talked about a lot of things. We've talked about navigating the job market. We've talked about the different types of work permits. We've talked about studying in Canada. We've talked about the different provinces. We've talked about a lot of things. So if you need the reason I'm going through this direction is because I want you to have a basic understanding of the different work permits, have a basic understanding of having a job. So let's say you have a job, congratulations. How are you set for success? How prepared are you? Do you even know what it means to have a job in Canada? Because having a job in Canada is a job in itself. So you need to know what you need to know, and that prior information, prior knowledge is very powerful because it puts you stand out amidst the crowd, especially people who don't even know anything with respect to working. Although every employer gives you like a brochure, they give you like a manual and things you have to follow, but there are certain soft skills you need to have that the employer would not give you. The employer can teach you, it's a personal skill. The employer can teach you integrity. These are internal soft skills that you need to have. Okay, so let's move on. So professional your professional dress code. So every company has like a certain dress code that they allow in the workplace. I always use myself as an example. While I was working in Walmart just have like a vest. It has the Walmart on the vest that you just wear on top of your formal trousers. They call it pants in Canada. So it has to be office pants. It's either navy blue or black or ash color, but you have to wear a black shirt inside, and you just put your Walmart vest and then you wear the trouser because you have to look formal. You have to look formal. You're representing the business. So when a client or a customer sees you, they see the business. That's the first thing they see. So you want to represent them properly. Some businesses allow you to wear jeans. I remember in Southern Global Services, the other place I worked, they didn't allow jeans on weekdays. They allow jeans on weekends. So these are rules you need to understand in the workplace. Now, depending on the company or industry culture, you want to make sure you're wearing the professional. See, little things like this gets people fired. You don't want to be that employee. They're always calling, they're always pulling you over. You come to work and the first thing is see me in my office. And all your colleagues will be like, what's going on? Why are they always calling you to the office? What's wrong, right? So you need to just make sure you're following the rule. You want to really be cooperative. Canadians love people who are cooperative. And that brings us to our next point, politeness and respect. So we already know, I think I talked about this in one of the webinars. I talked about how Canada is very multicultural and people from all diverse race, India, Portugal, Brazil, China, Ghana, Nigeria, everybody, all walks of life, everybody comes to Canada. And you want to respect the culture, right? Like certain religions like Islam religions, they usually pray using a mat on the floor. I remembered when I had a colleague who was going to pray, and I don't know, but probably was a new manager, and she was like, oh, you're supposed to be working at this time, and she's like, hey, excuse me, this is my prayer time and today is Friday. And it led to a whole big issue. I believe they had to sue the company also. It was really messy because the manager was like, hey, there's all hands on deck. You can go pray at another time. But with respect to this person's religion, he's supposed to go and pray. I believe they had they usually have this program where the Muslims do a long fast, and then after that they have to pray. And the manager was like, no, you have to work. There's so much calls to make. It was like more of like a call center. And this guy kept on persisting, hey, I got to pray. And it led to a whole big issue. And the next day he had to file a lawsuit for the company that the company did not respect Muslims. It was ridiculous. And now there was also another story of how an Indian guy was eating and the food aroma was all over the place. And then these Canadian girls were just laughing and mocking his food. Because, like Indians, sorry about that, Indians, like their food usually have this garlic and ginger smell. So you want to, as an international student, you know what you're there for. You're there to go there, get your certificate, do your job, get what you want to get, and then have a foot, have a standing in Canada. If it's permanent residence, that's your goal. If it's study permit, you want to study and go back to your home country. Whatever your goal is, you want to do it. And when you're doing it, after that, you do what? You go back to your home country or you build your Canadian dream. Welcome. I see someone here. This is Beatrice with Canada International Working Study Resource Center. And we'll talk about everything Canada to enable you have a smooth ride and a smooth journey to Canada. So today we're talking about navigating the workplace etiquette as an international student in Canada. And I'm on the third point, which is politeness and respect. So you need to respect other people's religion. You need to respect other people's opinion. You need to respect your company's. You're working in a job. Even in the university, you need to respect people. Juliana Iya Maya, thank you so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. Please, I want you to do something. I want you to share this webinar with your following, and I want you to send us a DM as well. I'm just gonna take your question before I move further. Juliana Iana Maya, thank you so much. Say, how can I get help on school application? So go ahead and send us a direct message on this Facebook page. go ahead and send us a direct message, and we'll go ahead and proceed with helping you with your school application. And just so you know, we're ethical, we're RCIC licensed, so we'll definitely get you to study in Canada. Nothing to worry about. It's guaranteed admission. We'll endeavor to work hard on your visa as well. But just go ahead and send us a direct message, and we'll sort that out for you. And also, please listen to our previous webinar where I talked about how you can prepare. And I also gave out a free workbook, so make sure you get the free workbook as well. If you're going to utilize Canada International Work and Study Resource Center, please get the free workbook, okay? So you are well ahead and well prepared amongst your equals. Thank you so much, Juliana. So I was talking about politeness and respect, right? So you have to be very respectful. Like, Canadians are very polite people. The whole world know them to be polite. When you go online and just put Canadians on Google, it says they always say sorry. Hi, sorry, sorry, sorry. They say sorry for even coming on the broadcast, right? So you want to always use your pleases and thank you. You want to respect disabled people. Like, Canadian is an egalitarian culture. It's an egalitarian. Egalitarian means they see people to be the same. Whether you are my employer, whether you are my boss, whether you are the president. There was a restaurant that Justin Trudeau ate. I ate in that restaurant. There was no difference. You're welcome, Juliana. There was no difference with Justin Trudeau, which is the prime minister. Remember, in Africa, when you see the president, you lie down. There's so many convoys and security people. Not like that in Canada. The culture is different. If you see Justin Trudeau, maybe you just see only him working and a couple of people. You don't see so many convoys and police securities all over the place. The restaurant he ate, I ate in that restaurant. It's a restaurant in Toronto. So just want you, it's an egalitarian society. So they see everybody to be equal, right? Whether you're the billionaire or you're Bill Gates, no one cares. The government has made life easy for its citizens, so nobody really cares. However, that usually misleads Nigerians. I remembered a certain lady who was insulting her boss. She forgot herself, right? So you call your boss by their first name. Like, if I'm your boss, you call me Beatrice. That's how people are addressed. They call them by their. They don't need sir, ma, Mr., madam, yes, ma. No. Just say, hello, John. Just say, hello, Juliana, even though you're my boss, right? It's an egalitarian society. However, don't get carried away. You still have to respect. If your boss tells you, come to work at this time, get this project done, you have to do that, okay? You're welcome, Shugudo Oladele Patience. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate that. She said, well done, ma'am. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So you have to be respectful. So I'm talking about navigating the workplace etiquette in Canada. It's very important. Let me tell you guys a story. There was this Yoruba lady, sorry for the Yoruba people, who she was speaking to another Yoruba. You know, Yoruba, I noticed the Yorubas, they love speaking their language. Like, they enjoy it, especially when they're, I actually love that. That's awesome. Don't be ashamed of your language. And there was this white lady, because she had a conversation with a white lady, and she immediately after that conversation, she switched to Yoruba, and she was speaking to her colleague that's a Yoruba. And the white lady had to report her to the boss and said that she was insulting her in her language. And she actually recorded it. This girl tries to convince the employer that I was not insulting her. I was technically trying to get something from my colleague that's a Yoruba. They couldn't prove her wrong, because the colleague was like, okay, what is the interpretation in English? Please only speak English. And then they had to put a big post. When you're outside the workplace, you can speak your language. That's fine. But when you're within the work environment, speak only English or French, if your company is English or French. So this is where respect comes in play. Please, 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 when you don't want to lose your job because of a little mistake. These little things, I'm telling you guys, little things like this put people in a whole dystopian spiral, and their life just goes in so much chaos. I remember I lived with a certain occupant in a residence in Canada, and I don't know, she was having some kind of personal issues. You know, those people who, these people, they just love trouble. And she just reported me to the landlady and said something about my rice or something. I'm like, what? Do you know how much I pay for tuition? I pay up 10. What is rice? Rice is not a problem. And then the landlady said, unfortunately, I will need you to leave the residence. I'm like, what? Because of a rice, I have to leave a residence? It just didn't sit right with me. Although I left that residence, and I'm actually happy because the residence caught fire along the way. So it was kind of God trying to save me. But I'm just letting you know that little things, it's little things that turns into something very huge. And the last story I'll talk about before I go to the open communication, which is the 4 points with respect to navigating workplace etiquette. There was a certain guy in Canada. I'm grateful he's Canadian. You could go on Google and search it. That's Uwindsor. And he has actually done a lot of things to Black people, because he brought about the Black inclusion movement in the university. He punched a white guy. He punched the white guy. The white guy punched him back. and the white guy reported to the police before he reported. And then the school dealt with the black guy and did not deal with the white guy. I don't want to go through the whole thing, but the good thing about the black guy is that the black guy was a Canadian. If that black guy was an international student, he would have been deported. I'm serious, he would have been deported. So when you're going to school, please go to school because you're going to school. Don't go to school and go look for trouble. He could have said sorry and moved on. What's the whole? Why should you fight back? It's human nature to want to fight back. But what even led to that in the first place? I don't know. But when you're going to a Canadian workplace, don't go there and start fighting and start getting involved with things that will put you in a mess. Especially if you want to get, remember, your Canadian, tomorrow I'll be talking about, we'll be diving deep into the postgraduate work permit. There are little things that can destroy someone's life if they do not respect the culture, if they are not polite. So please don't make these mistakes, okay? These things will help you. I can guarantee if you take these tips, they're going to help you. So the next tip here on our list is open communication. Excuse me. The employer loves you to be open. Trust me, the employer in Canada, they loves you to be open. If you're sick, be open. If you want to take a leave, be open. In Canada has a very good workplace. They have this welcoming workplace rules where they give you vacation, they give you time off, they give you leave, and it's because they understand they want you to be productive. It's business, and take away the emotion. You're there for business, you're making money for the company, the profit, that's what it is. So be open. You want to be open, right? Canadians are pretty open people. I remember there was this lady I met, her name was Rose, at my workplace, and she was so open. At the first 20 minutes I knew all what she was going through. She's like, hey, I'm going through this, my boyfriend left me, blah blah. They're so open. They're not secretive as Nigerians. They're very open, but hey, respect them, be careful. Because they're open does not mean you should use that against them. Be very careful, okay? So I've been through this, so that's why I'm giving you guys tips. So be open, especially to your employer. If something is bothering you, you're not understanding a concept at work, you're finding certain tasks difficult, you want them to change your department. Maybe because I remember I was working with the sales and billing team and I got moved to the technical team. So these are things you want to be open and you want to be honest. If something is bothering you, you're going through something, they're always open to, like, as long as you're telling the truth, and this is where integrity comes. Because they enjoy openness and honesty does not mean you should start lying and say, oh, I'm sick so you can go home. No. You don't want to do that, okay? Anything can happen. Anybody can find you in the grocery store. That's, anything can happen. So you want to be open if it's serious, if it's a big deal. You want to be open, your employer, and always express yourself, okay? Don't be afraid to express yourself. Even as Black ladies, as Black women in Canada, it's pretty tough, but always be open to express yourself. They actually respect that as well, especially in Canada, okay? So always also accept a constructive criticism and accept opinions of others, okay? Other people's opinion with respect to the job, not of you. Other people's opinion of you doesn't really matter. But other people's opinion with respect to the job, to get a job fast, to get a job effective is very important, especially if it's coming from your employer and your colleague. You want to take that, you want to be collaborative. And then we have the workplace, work-life balance. We Nigerians, we love work, 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 work. That's why they give you vacation. Please take the vacation. Please take the leave. If they give you a leave of 1 week, please take that one week leave. They give you a leave of 1 month, and always tell your employer a month in advance. I remember when I was going to get a 1 month leave, I had to tell my employer a month in advance, because if you tell your employer a month in advance, then they can get more workforce, because the work sometimes get a little bit tedious, especially if the work has been delegated for over 200 people, and let's say 5 people are on sick leave. They have to hire more workforce so they can get more hands on deck. You don't want to put your employer in a situation whereby they are frustrated and they don't have, they don't know what to do, and it's revenue. They need the funds, right, for the business to run. So if you're in the workplace, you want to make sure you give your notice on time, you tell your employer on time. That way they can prepare beforehand, with respect to satisfying their clients. I remember in while I was working with Sutherland Global Services, they actually, the first promotion the first promotion was with respect to, oops, sorry about that. The first respects to, oops, what's going on? Can you all hear me clearly? Can you all hear me clearly? Oh. Sorry about that. I just want to make sure. Can you all? Okay. Okay, we're back. We're back. Okay. So so sorry about that. I just wanted there was a little bit glitch in my phone, and I just wanted to make sure. Yeah. So work-life balance. Where was I again? Where was I with respect to? So work-life balance. So you want to make sure, like, with respect to like your vacation. So if you're taking like a vacation, you want to make sure that the employer is aware, so that they are well prepared. I remembered while I was gonna take, was it a leave? I was gonna take a leave of absence, and I was going through a lot. So I was sick here and there in the hospital, and then I had to inform the employer, and they needed to hire two more people because you also like when because the file for tax, they have to give you your T4. T4 is like a slip they give to you for you to file your tax with the federal government, so you can get some money back from the government since you pay tax. And hey, mind you, your first paycheck, before you even get it, the government collects. Christiana, say the thank you, welcome, welcome. Before you get that first paycheck, the government collects a huge chunk of it. So just be prepared, okay? All the money doesn't go to you. Some money goes to the government. So just be prepared with that. And I remember I was sick, and I had to inform the employer, but my name was always coming up on their payroll. I wasn't working because I was sick, right? But the employer was aware that I was sick, so they had to accommodate me. So you have to make sure you have that work-life balance. You don't want to work, because every employer has a certain. This is what I was going to talk about before I got interrupted. Every employer has a certain way they grade the employee. Like if you're doing really well, because I got promoted twice. I got promoted, and then they put a poster on the wall and say second best employee in all of Windsor Essex County. And then the second employment, I got promoted to support the entire colleague on the floor. Yes, as a Nigerian, you can get promoted if you do a good job. So they have a certain matrix that they used to grade you. So your average handle time was more of like a call center customer service. So if you are calling them faster than every usual employee, right, they're going to grade you for that. Your quality matrix, how do you sound on the phone? Are you very polite? Are you rude? Please don't be rude. You could lose your job. And I'll tell you guys a story of how a guy lost his job and he was trying to process his permanent residence application. It was ridiculous. Fortunately for him, he was able to get another job. Average handle time, this is specific to my job. Yours could be different. Yours could be arrival time. I had average handle time, quality matrix. I had the AHT. I had the number of calls, inbound and outbound calls, and I did so well. I was number 2. There was a certain guy that was doing really well than I was, and he also got promoted to become a coach. So if you do really well, there's always room for promotion, and this is the reason why I said you have to be cooperative. You have to be able to collaborate. So there was this guy. I'm just going to tell you guys a quick story. There was this guy who was trying to get his permanent residence. And remember, I talked about the postgraduate work permit only valid for 3 years. And he was so rude to this client. Hello, welcome, welcome, Christina said. He was so rude to this client. And then they pulled the call. Guess who pulled the call? It was the chief executive officer in the United States, because the company is a United States company, but they're utilizing Canada to help. They were sourcing Canada. You know, those companies who have different branches in different parts of the world. It's global. And then when they listened to the call, do you know what the guy told the lady, the customer? He told the customer that you're so poor that you can't even afford an internet. That's so bad. You don't want to, and when do you know what it means for the chief executive officer to hear that? And funny enough, this guy did not know that this customer had all the things with AT&T. So because the customer contacted him, he just assumed. No assumptions in the workplace, please. No assumptions. He assumed that it's only the internet the lady has. The lady had DSTV with AT&T. The lady had internet with AT&T. The lady had so many other services with AT&T. Not just phone, not just internet. So many other things with AT&T. She even had a contract. She was even one of the partners. She's one of the shareholders with AT&T, and this guy did not know. He didn't know. He just thought it was a normal customer. So they could put you to the test. Someone from their shares could call the company and please represent the company well, because you're the face of the company. If you mess up, you lose your job. The guy lost his job. I remember the manager came and just took his bag and was like, get out of the office. Get out. We don't want to see you here again. Take your bag and get out. What did I do? What did I do? And then we now realized that it was the call, because he didn't even know that. And it was ridiculous, because actually when they were doing some training, because I was one of the people in the support team, I'm grateful to God for that. We had the call where he said, "You're so poor that you can't even afford the internet." I was like, "Oh my God!" You don't say that to a client. You don't say that to a customer. So, in the workplace, please and please and please respect customers. Those are the people paying the bills. Even in your workplace, your current workplace, start practicing this now. Don't wait till you get to Canada. In your workplace, I know in Africa they're pretty rude, but in your workplace, respect your customers. They are the ones who pay the bills. Before you go to Canada, respect your customers. So multiculturalism, we know that Canada is broadly diverse. There are people from all walks of life, from India, Ghana, Togo, Russia. So many people all over the world that comes to Canada. So you want to respect their beliefs, you want to respect their culture, you want to have an inclusive workplace environment. And even if you get promoted to a managerial position, that doesn't mean you should shove off people. Respect them. Teamwork, you want to collaborate, right? I noticed the Canadian culture, they actually love teamwork because teamwork makes the dream work. You need different minds and you need different hands to get the job done. If I have to call 1,000 clients, but if you speak, it's going to be a lot of work for me. But if you split those 1,000 clients to, like, let's say 7 or 10 or 15 employees, you reduce the workload, right? You reduce the workload. So the teamwork, you need to embrace teamwork. And you shouldn't be the person that I want to do it all alone. No, you're going to get burnt out. Okay. So they have a reason why you are in a team. They have a reason why you have colleagues. So please embrace the collaborative nature and embrace togetherness in the workplace. Okay. Embrace togetherness. And also, one thing that is very important before you even start a job, please know the rules of the engagement. Please know what you need to do in the job. They have different rights in Canada, and please know your rights. I did a webinar some time ago where I talked about the different rights. You need to know your rights. In Canada, there's rights to safe work. Your employer shouldn't be telling you to take a knife to cut off your fingers. That's not safe. You have a right to say, no, I can't do that. Because your employer can tell you to jump off a cliff. No, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be doing that because that is dangerous. It's not safe. So there is rights to safe work. I remember the time where I won a TV. Oh my God, I love Southern Global Services. That company is such a blessing to my life. But they said I should carry the TV to I'm like, it's so heavy, I can't carry it. Right? And I sought for help. That's why you have to be open. You have to speak out. It's like, oh, we thought you could. And then someone helped me. So you have a right to say no if the job it's dangerous, if the job is not safe. So you have to know your rights. And another important thing you need to know is respect for privacy. Now, Canadians are very open, but privacy is also very essential. You don't want to go to someone's post and start shivering things to know what's going on. No, you got to respect your privacy. Even from the time you send your application to the Canadian government, everything is confidential. If you're going to use Canada International Work and Study Resource Center, and for those who are listening, please go ahead and send us a DM for us to start your consultation. Right from that time, the government actually asks, do you consent to send your information to these consultants? And you have to say yes for us to proceed. If you say no, we will not proceed. Okay, if you say no, we will not proceed. So the Canadian government is extremely confidential. And at workplace, you have to be confidential. If your employer says, hey, you're not supposed to disclose this outside of the work environment, please do not disclose it outside of the work environment. Your employer says, oh, these things are not to be discussed. These things are only to be discussed within the office. Let it be so. Oh, we're not supposed to inform the police. Let it be so. But make sure it's safe. Okay, we shouldn't inform the police, but it should be a safe job. Okay, because you have a right to work in a safe job. So you may understand what I mean. Welcome. Okay, so and email etiquette. Now, these things, when you get to the Canadian workplace, they will actually train you with respect to your email. They will train you with respect to the different ways you need to respond to a client, a customer. They have all those for you if it's an entry-level position. They have all those things for you. Okay, they'll train you, but there's something we call courtesy. We understand that you have to call them by their first name, but you want to be polite when you're sending an email. You want to avoid derogatory statements and vulgar language. You want to avoid using slangs because emails is a form of documentation and it's going to be on their inbox for a long time. You don't want to be out of the company and someone pulls out an email and says, look at the email that Juliana sent to me. Look at the email Shadi sent to me. You don't want to do that, right? So you want to be respectful in your emails and you want to engage in professional email etiquette. Okay, and there are certain words that are considered derogatory. I remember while I was working with Southern Global Services, I was being told that certain clients, we shouldn't say they are using a food stamp. it's called the snap card. So there are certain words, certain vocabularies that are considered offensive. Please learn those vocabulary for your employer in the workplace. Certain vocabulary is considered offensive. Okay, maybe they would say instead of using smell, use aroma. Instead of saying this, use this. And that reminds me, like the words, the Canadian words and the Nigerian words is different. I know that most of our viewers here are Nigerian. In Canada, what we call slippers, they call it flip flops. What we call trunk, what we call boots, they call it trunk. And what we call I want to go and take my bath, we call it we want to go take a shower. So all these vocabularies, you need to know them, okay? So that they can understand you. It's a different culture, right? I understand. Okay, and last but not the least is learn to take breaks. So your every employer has like the 15 minutes break, and then the lunch could be 1 hour or 30 minutes. The 15 minutes break, you take it twice in a workplace. It varies from employer to employer, and it's paid. The 15 minutes break is usually paid, but then when you do your 1 hour lunch, it's unpaid. So you want to make sure you follow that. You don't want to be taking breaks over and over, except you're sick, and you have to inform your manager. Some management will actually tell you, you know what, just clock out and go home. Okay, so you want to take breaks because you want to be productive, right? The reason they are paying you is to bring profit, so you want to be productive. And one thing I tell Nigerians, please stick to excellence in anything you're doing, whether if it's internship, if it's co-op, please stick to excellence because it will show in the end. Like there is always room for improvement. Will always give you promotion and all that, okay, and increase your salary, your money. So that would be the end of it with respect to navigating workplace etiquette as an international student in Canada. So I'll be open to questions now. So if you have any questions or you have any comments, we got one question earlier with respect to school application, and I informed Juliana to please go ahead and send us a DM in order for us to start your application process with Canada International Work and Study Resource Center. And we have a free book for you. So if you utilize the service, I would give you the free book as well. Do you have any more questions for me before we call it a day? Any more questions? I'll be willing to take a question. No, I did get one question before I came up on the webinar. And the question is, what do you do if you're harassed in the workplace? Because we do hear that sometimes people get harassed. Now, Nigerians, I know you guys are fond of tapping someone. My body, be careful. Okay, and remember a doctor who tapped someone and she had like a skin disease. And the moment he tapped her, he's actually in jail. He got arrested. The moment he tapped her, I think he taps what's the word? The moment he tapped her, it just stimulated the disease in her skin, and she had a huge swell. And the doctor was like, "Oh my God, he never saw that coming," and all that. And then she had to report to the hospital, and the guy got arrested. But he didn't do that intentionally to tap her and then to make the injury or whatever she had in her system to swell. So you want to be careful. Now, with respect to harassment, with tapping people abroad, be very careful. You could do that to your fellow Nigerians, but with Canadians, please be cautious because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what disease or you don't know what they're fighting internally. You just want to be very careful. These are soft skills. These are soft skills. And taking other people's property without their permission, be careful. Going to someone's house without being pre-informed, be careful. You don't just go to someone's house like you do in Africa. You have to call them and they have to consent that you can come to their house. So these are little things you need to know because the culture is very different. If you go to their house and they did not invite you, it can be seen as trespassing and you can get arrested. You don't want to get arrested because you're going to get your permanent resident. So harassment. So every workplace have different way they handle harassment. You could mention that to your management. Like I told you guys, Canadians are very open, right? You can mention that to your management that you are being harassed by a colleague. However, if you're being harassed by the management, there are also ways you could go to higher management, right? And report the issue and do that respectfully and professionally and deal with that, okay? But I wouldn't really advise you taking it to the police right away because you're an international student. And remember, they see you as a foreigner. They see you as a foreign national. So you want to deal with it within your workplace. If you can deal with it within your workplace, fine. If you can't deal with it within your workplace, look for services. There's usually services within your municipality that can help you with that, or reach out to us. Reach out to us and we'll assist you further. Is there any question? Are there any questions for me before we call it today? Thank you so much, Shugodo Aladele. Thank you so much, Christiana Sedu. I really appreciate everyone for taking their time from their busy schedule to watch this webinar. We really appreciate it. Is there any more questions before I call it a day? And I'll be closing this webinar. I'll give it an additional 5 minutes. And if I don't see any question, I'll go ahead and close the webinar. Any questions for us today? Thank you so much for taking our time. Again, I'll just do a brief introduction. My name is Beatrice. Today we'll talk about navigating workplace etiquette as an international student in Canada. And we are Canada International Work and Study Resources. We bank on integrity. We help students, foreign nationals to immigrate smoothly to Canada. We have good reform policy. We are ROCIC licensed and we're ethical. Okay, so any questions for me? Any questions? Any questions for me? Any questions for me? Any questions for me? Are there any questions for me before we call it a day? Welcome. Are there any questions? We just concluded the webinar. We talked about navigating workplace etiquette. Thank you, ma'am, for the enlightenment. You're very welcome. And we'll be doing this every Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So all I just need you to do is to share this webinar with your friends and family. Share this webinar with someone who is looking to immigrate to Canada or is a newcomer, who is a foreigner and has no prior information. I've lived in Canada for 10 years of my life. I went through the study route, so it was a bit of a struggle because I went through school 4 years. After that, I had to get a postgraduate work permit. I went through the rough system, and then I applied for my permanent residence, which took me an additional 2-3 years. People, guys, hear me? It takes 2-3 years for me to get my permanent residence. So it was a battle. It was a battle. It wasn't easy. It didn't come easy for me at all. And mine fell during the COVID time, so it was pretty tough. But I was able to get through it, so you should be able to get through it as well. But this workplace etiquette, I would love you to listen to this again, because one tiny thing can change someone's life. One tiny mistake can change someone's life. They can actually even get deported. They can be sent back to their home country. They can not even be able to pay the bills just because of just one tiny mistake. Maybe it's even probably they weren't polite. They didn't greet the manager in the mosque. Just little things. Just little things. Like I told you guys of the person who told the client that you can't even pay for an internet, and he got fired on the spot on that same day. Got fired that day. So you want to be very careful. This is not Africa. Okay. Any more questions for me? Okay, if there are no more questions, I'll go ahead and close the webinar. Thank you all for watching. Again, this is Beatrice with Canada International Work and Study Resource Center. I'm your host. Tomorrow we'll be talking about postgraduate work permit in its entirety. I want you guys to be here because it's non-renewable. You get it once in a lifetime. I'm going to tell you guys a lot about it, okay? Okay, see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye.